I think it's working. All right, welcome back to the Breaker Broz. And tonight, we're going to do a little reaction video to Duke Tobin's, I guess, interview that he had a few days ago. And Eric actually has a theory, so I guess we'll let him.
A few theories, but first of all, I want to mention we're live, right? But thanks to everybody who finds us and joins us. But special thanks to all the subs out there. We see you, and we're slowly growing, but we're growing nonetheless. So the theory is, right? So it's kind of like a. Have you ever played poker, Josh? You know poker, like a poker face.
Yeah.
Right. So like people who play poker, they wear sunglasses and stuff. So it's just like I've seen this thing where people say the direction that you look indicates whether or not you're telling the truth or whether or not you're lying. It's considered a bit of a myth, but treating it as a myth is no fun. Let's say this is truth, right? So we have kind of a cheap lie detector, right? So are we showing the image?
Yeah.
On the screen there? Okay, so the face on the left, according to, well, the Smithsonian Magazine is calling this a myth, but again, ignore all that. Ignore fact. Let's have some fun. Truth. Face on the left means you're lying. So if someone looks at you with that face, they're lying. So that would be, I don't know. Can you demonstrate that, Josh? Look to your left.
All right.
It would just, no, not your face,
okay,
just your eyeballs. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's lying. No. You gotta look to your right because it's the opposite. Right?
Okay, so I'm looking to my right if I'm lying.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I'm lying.
Okay. Now
right.
tell the truth. You look the opposite way if you're telling the truth.
All right.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I thought Duke Tobin's got some from, I mean no lie, right? We're got a little bit of Korean in us, so we got some Asian in us. So like we notice a big eye. That really stands out. It's nice. I like to see a big eye. Wish I had those big peepers. So we got Duke Tobin, and we're just looking at his interview here, and he's you can see his eyes, right? So
for sure.
Okay, now let's see. The way he's looking now, somewhat neutral-ish. I gotta go back to our cheat sheet here. So this is the lying face. So if he's looking up to the upper left of the screen, that's a lie, right? So upper left is a lie. Let's just memorize that, right? Upper left is a lie. If he's looking to the upper left of your screen, what he's saying, according to a myth, what we're treating as truth, is a lie. So the thing that I'm most interested in, as always, is the offensive line. And Duke Tobin is talking about the offensive line. So if he's looking up and to the left, we're going to treat the statement that he says as a lie. Now, we got the lie detector running, so let's run the film and see what he says.
How do you feel like Jonah played, and what do you view as his fifth year?
Wait, okay. His eyes are working, right? I mean, they're darting all over the place, right? Okay.
With you guys.
Yeah, we picked up the option. He's going to be...
Okay, so they picked up the option. That's fact, right? Right?
Okay.
He kind of glanced to his right a little bit, to the right-hand side of the screen, this way. So, truth? But let's see what else he says.
With us. We think he's a very good offensive lineman, very good left tackle.
Uh-oh. Where was he looking when he said all that?
It looks like to the left.
To the left, which means...
he's lying.
Which means he's lying.
Yeah, but
so
isn't he looking at the person he's talking to, though?
Yeah, but his eyes are moving all over the place.
Well, but I feel like, yeah, I guess that's true. But
Well, I mean, let's back it up, right? Okay.
We picked up the option. He's going to be with us. You know, we think he's a very good offensive lineman, very good left tackle.
Mhm.
Yeah, it did go a little bit. Yeah.
So it would indicate some deception, right? Maybe they think he's a very good or good offensive lineman. Maybe they don't think he's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they think he's a good offensive lineman, but not a very good left tackle, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. See what else we got.
Again, when you play tackle in this league, you're never going to be perfect. Nobody is going to be perfect. People are going to get beat. You're playing Myles Garrett. You're playing guys that are rare, and they're going to win some. And but Jonah's a
Oh, where is he looking? Come on, look. I mean, where are the eyes going?
It is going left, but
Like hard left, right?
so I do get a sense that like he's definitely selling the fact that like
but
they
we haven't heard-
trust.
I mean, we've watched this a couple times, but I can't remember what he says next. But if we're gonna play this game, right? The lie detector tells us the next statement maybe is a lie.
Yeah, but
I mean, of course, then you were gonna say something. What are you gonna say?
I kind of forget now. We can keep going.
Okay, let's see what he says. I'm calling it as a lie based on the lie detector myth test 3000.
very good player. We're happy to have him.
Oh no!
Yeah, but he's
Very good player. We're happy to have him.
I mean, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a lie as much as it's like coach speak. But I mean, I get the fact that he's trying to sell the situation because, for
Mhm.
instance, if we are maybe positioning to draft a tackle for whatever reason in the first round, this would be a very good reason why we would be really sold on Williams. To whereas, because like we're not really just limited to the draft to upgrade a tackle position because we can go to free agency.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I don't know if it's so much as
all
like
would be good reason. Both of those are good reasons to lie, right?
you wouldn't necessarily have to lie based off of free agency, but it makes more sense from a drafting perspective. But plus, also like they know the situation. They know he's underperforming, right, in the grand scheme of things of maybe where we expect the left tackle of our future for Joe Burrow. Is that Williams? I would say no, based off of past performance all the way to
Based
now.
off of the eyes. The
Uh,
eyes.
I don't
Am
have to look
pointing
at
in the
Duke
right
Tobin.
direction. This one, huh?
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that
I mean, I think Duke Tobin needs to wear sunglasses when he gives these interviews, right?
yeah, but he's also talking to someone over there clearly, because like it seems like he does a good job of like looking around to the room and make sure that he's talking to everyone, and then he seems to
Mhm.
set his eyes back onto the person that answered the
Mhm.
question or asked the
Mhm.
question
Mhm.
originally.
Yeah, that seems logical and fair and truthful. But that's not fun. He's
No,
lying.
no, but I mean, there are like if you're analyzing it like we are, and you're very looking at his eyes. I mean, there are
Right.
some sequences that don't really add up to natural movements, right? So like,
Yeah.
no, because
I've always thought that like if you're looking to the right, that means that's more truthful, and then if you're over to the left, it's not necessarily deception. It just means you're like really working hard not to say the wrong thing, which is basically deception, right?
yeah, I mean that's all this. The majority of the stuff is it to me, anyways. Like yeah, we're gonna tell you what we're really thinking, so that way you can steal the players that we're probably gonna try to get in the draft. Is the way I see most of the stuff is like, yeah, of course they're not gonna tell you anything. Like they're just gonna give you.
Maybe we should
very
should we
limited-
test it now?
What do you mean?
Well, like we could do the lie detector now, right? Like you could look straight ahead, right? Try not to cheat. Now ask you yes or no questions and always answer yes. And sometimes it'll be the truth, and then sometimes it'll be a lie, right?
But if I know what you're doing, then I could just look straight and just say yes, yes, yes.
Well, no,
yes.
just try not to cheat it. No, say yes and explain, right? So like look straight ahead, and I'll ask you 2 yes or no questions, and then answer yes, and then kind of give like a sentence explanation to the answer, and then the second one, or the one of the 2 questions will be one that should be no, and you're gonna have to lie, but just focus on the lying and not on your eyes, right?
Okay,
Okay, so let's test it. Are you ready?
let's do it.
Okay. Are the Cincinnati Bengals your favorite football team?
Yes, they've been my favorite football team since I was a little boy, and I've watched every single season since I can think of.
Okay. So while you're talking, your eyes shot to the right. Just keep that in mind, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Tony Romo is your favorite quarterback. And if anything, he's underrated.
Tony Romo is my favorite quarterback, mainly because he always seemed to make plays out of nowhere. And even when he made a mistake, he would own up to it. And he just seems like a very relatable guy.
You were doing so good. I was going to call you a really good liar. And then at the end, your eyes went boop.
Yeah, because I'm looking right at you.
No, they were like doing like this. And they went, Just saying. All right. See what else Duke has to say about Jonah Williams.
And we think he played pretty well this year.
There wouldn't be anything.
Oh! What was the last bit?
Would there? Just
We think he played pretty well this
questions
year.
for-
Let's see that again.
moving him. Would there? Just he's a left tackle, and that's it.
Yeah, those would be questions for Zach and Frank. Those wouldn't be questions for me. But he's played left tackle for us, and we've been able to win with him doing that.
Yep.
So.
How do you think Jackson?
Okay. So let's go back to that again.
We think he played pretty well this year.
There wouldn't be.
See, when he said, I think we played pretty well, went whoop, right? And now he's going to be talking about like, oh yeah, we're not moving him to right tackle. That's not for me, right? Watch what he does.
Moving him. Would there? Just he's a left tackle, and that's it.
Yeah, those would be questions for Zach and Frank. Those wouldn't be questions for me. But he's played left tackle for us, and we've been able to.
See, straight ahead. He's played left tackle for us. Don't ask me, ask Zach. Truth about moving to right tackle, right? I mean, but like when he's talking about how he wants to keep him,
guys that are rare, and they're going to win some. And but Jonah's a very good player. We're happy to have him. And
I don't know. I like some of the stuff I agree with you about some of the things he's saying, but like that one to me, he's just looking at someone. Like he's not really like. I think you could say someone's a really good player and mean it without actually meaning it, if that makes sense. Because you know him as a person.
But he's not.
Huh?
He's not. He's trying to polish a turd, I think.
Oh no, I agree. But that's almost everything that they're saying. Though.
And the funny thing is, like, I like Jonah Williams. I like him.
Right.
I think he's a very good player. I think he has potential. I think he's been playing hurt.
Right.
But I question that because I don't think they're like.
But what is he supposed to
Duke
say?
Is as high on Jonah as I am, so I'm starting to feel like I'm wrong.
Wrong about what? About Jonah?
Yeah, I think maybe he's not as good as I think he is.
To me, he's an average left tackle. But if we're gonna have Joe Burrow in the backfield for the next 10 or 15 years, we can't just have an average left tackle. We need an above average left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
The the problem that we have right now is that we guaranteed Williams too much money. And
Well,
of course,
it's not that big of a deal. It's just a 5th-year option, right?
yeah, but it's still $13 million. So you're going to have to find the way to make that person start, right? Or potentially, it sounds like he could just be a backup for 1 year at left tackle, and that could be his spot. But I think it's more of a situation where, like, what is he supposed to do? Say the truth? Yeah, he's underperforming and blah, blah, blah. You can't really say something.
Not being critical. I'm not being critical of him. I'm just saying, like, we are the number one brother Bengals enthusiast, Dallas and Cincinnati,
half Asian, half German,
YouTube channel on right now, and we come with the hard-hitting facts, man. The subs deserve this, right? We need to tell them, like, I mean, when you come, 5 days late with the news, you got to come extra hard, right? And we're saying, look, we're not being critical of Duke Tobin, other than, maybe he should invest in some, crazy poker player sunglasses when he gives interviews. But reading the eyes, right? Reading the eyes, let's go back to our drawing here. Our old lying face, truth face. He's not so high on the Jonah Williams, right?
No, I mean, he anyone that's been paying attention the last couple of years, I think we all have the same conclusion. I think if it was one of those situations where, like, we still had Andy Dalton, then Jonah Williams would probably be still our left tackle, right?
We're like, yeah, hey, we have Andy Dalton. Kill him. We don't care. He's got red hair. Nobody cares.
Well, it's kind of brutal, but I mean, it's kind of right. But it's just, I think we all know what's so valuable in the backfield, so that's why we got to protect him. So, like, that's why it's more interesting, and that's why everyone suggested, or I've seen a lot of people suggested that you move him to right tackle, knowing that you can't really cut him, right? Since we were already guaranteed him $13 million. But that's if he's willing to play right tackle, which I'm sure he will be. And I think that's pretty much what Brian Callahan said. I'm sure you saw that interview, but he basically said that, yeah, if that's what we really want to do, I'm sure he'd be a team player and he would do it, but that's not necessarily their intention to do it. But I get a sense that they are positioning themselves to possibly draft a tackle, maybe in the first, if we don't get a certain player to drop to us. And I think that's probably why they're not being as maybe, I guess, not as, like, forward or, I guess, blunt or. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like he's dressing it up. I mean, I don't think anyone.
So the conclusion is that the organization isn't super high on Jonah Williams as a left tackle.
I don't think so, no.
And they think a move to right tackle is possible. So really, I think the takeaway is they're kind of open, right, to tackle, right? So if you draft a right tackle, if a right tackle falls to you in the draft, then, well, no. I think option one is you try to sign, because free agency happens before the draft, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure. Remember, we're enthusiast podcast YouTubers.
No, it definitely starts before the draft. Because
we got good on the old curve.
Because usually what happens is the big time free agents always go within the first couple of weeks, and then you usually have like some decent veterans that always wait until after the draft, because there's always those teams that don't sign someone because they're hoping for that particular player to drop to them, and if they don't get that particular player, then they go back to free agency. So I'm fairly confident free agency is before the draft.
Okay, so my thinking then is I think you're right, but if we're wrong, somebody point out in the comments maybe.
Even if we're right, just still tell us we're wrong, just in the comments. We'll respond.
Do it
Don't
in
worry.
the comments.
Yeah.
For fun and for algorithm purposes. But we will respond if you say stuff in the comments that doesn't make it nothing naughty, no 4-letter words. Somehow YouTube doesn't let me see them, and I don't care to change it. I'm good with the way it is. But given that free agency happens before the draft, I think the Bengals should try to sign a tackle, get the best tackle they can. If they can get the number one or good left tackle, then you sign the guy, you kick Williams over to right tackle, then you make the cap right by making the associated salary cap casualties, for lack of a better term,
which would be Collins or possibly Mixon. But
yeah, the thing about Mixon is the more I hear about it,
they'll restructure it.
Well, I was listening to Locked On Bengals, and they say it's not restructured. They're just going to have them do a salary cut, because restructure means that you extend the contract to get the cap bonus. You turn it into like something else.
Oh, okay.
Extend it. Whereas the Bengals are just straight up going to ask for a salary cut, which might make sense, right?
I think that's what they did with Geno, I'm sure. But they ended up just cutting him, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So, but I think that they do the Mixon stuff after the draft, right? Because he's under contract, so you don't have to do it before the draft. And I think if you're going to cut him, you're probably going to cut him after June 1st anyways, right?
Yeah.
So back to the tackle. So I think they're going to try to sign a tackle because everybody sees it, right? Bengals need a tackle. So the best way to do it is get a dude who's proven in the league. You pay money, you throw money at the problem, but you fix it, right? That's the best option. And then if the solution is, like I almost would make a list, right? You start with left tackles and then you go to right tackles, and you just, whichever the best one you can get to sign, you go boom, 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 right? And then if you can get like an elite left tackle and you have to give them a bunch of money and you sign them for, 4 years or whatever, then you put them at left tackle because that's your left tackle for 4 years. Jonah Williams is only under a 1-year deal. Kick him over to right. Offensive line fix for next year, right? Then you don't have to draft anybody. Other option is you sign a right tackle for whatever, and then you're going to have to deal with, cap casualties, Collins, right? And then you make it right that way, right? And then you don't have to draft a tackle. Can't sign either, then you're going to have to draft a tackle, which is kind of the worst position to be in, because even if you signed a tackle, there's nothing wrong with drafting another one. But then you're in the position where you can just go for value, right? Like if you're in the 3rd round and you see a 2nd round graded tackle drop to you, then you snag them up, right? But then if you don't sign a tackle, then you're going to have to do the old reach, right? You're going to have to reach and draft somebody that, really internally you have graded a little bit lower, but you have a hole in the offensive line. You got to plug it up, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think really tackle free agency, I think, is going to be the bellwether for what the Bengals do in the draft, right?
Yeah, it seems like there's more options to upgrade and get younger at right tackle than left tackle, it seems like. And then I feel like,
yeah, I think that's always.
There's also strength in numbers too. Like we at some point, I do anticipate still drafting a lineman. Like we still need depth. We still need depth mainly, but we also need that guy. We need,
if you're drafting for depth, you can be strategic and get value.
Well, and also I feel like we're due for that, like when it comes to linemen, that Whitworth, right? Where it's not like a first rounder, right? Or maybe it's more like a second or third rounder. And we just.
Well, Whitworth was a second rounder, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but Whitworth sent the Bengals down this path of we're going to draft a guard with tackle potential. It's just they love it. They're like addicted to it. And that's where you get like the whole Jackson Carman pick where it's like, oh, we're going to put him in at right guard and then he's going to slot in at tackle because he's going to, mature and develop, right? And
I just feel like we're due to get like one of those guys on the offensive line because we haven't had one in a while. And it's just like, it seems like, and as long as we have Burrow, like, yeah, just keep drafting a lineman until we find one. I mean, we're eventually going to hit, right? Like, I don't know. I have no problem drafting.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. Like, what level of pick? Like, I wouldn't just be.
Well, it's just going to vary from year to year, right? But I'm just saying, like,
right?
I can't see a year where we wouldn't take extra protection. You know what I mean? Like, or a player where we could maximize the offense value. Like, for instance, like the tight end I went from Georgia. Like,
yeah, but that guy's like legit. Like, you're thinking of him as like the 28, right? Pick 28.
Yeah.
Not pick 56 or whatever it would be.
No, but I mean, to some people, they don't see him really as a first rounder, which I don't see how you cannot see him as a first rounder. But I can see potentially where he drops maybe high in the second, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be there at the end of the second round.
No, I don't see how he gets past us, but that's just me. Because it's like perfect for our situation because like you're gonna have a 6 offensive lineman, you're gonna put him on the side.
Did you say who it was? Tee it up. Who we talking about, Josh?
Well, I'm having a brain fart here. Let me.
Washington, right?
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah. What's his first name?
Now's not the time to ask me about first names. Starts with a D, maybe.
Yeah.
Is it Darnell?
Yeah. Darnell Washington. Yeah. You're
okay.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Because he's almost perfect for a situation. Because like, what if we're in a situation?
I was this close to saying Denzel. I knew it was wrong.
Oh, that's why it always sounds kind of familiar.
It's like a default to the most famous Washington. Like, well, it's not George Washington because that was the president.
When we did our first mock, and then we did our little thing, and then we watched the highlight videos afterwards, and we started to do a little bit more of the scouting or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when it was like, oh, maybe the tight end makes more sense, and that's when I was more on the Mayer side because I was like, yeah, that's our guy right there. It's like he could, come in and have a lot of playing time.
I think that's the Bengals' plan. I think the Bengals' plan is sign a tackle of free agency, draft a tight end in the first round. I think that's what they want to do.
Yeah, because if we're in the world that we're probably going to be in, then we get an upgrade at right tackle. That probably means Williams is still going to be at left tackle, right?
Yeah.
Then but if we get that Washington, he's basically our 6th lineman. So we're always going to put him on the side where like Garrett is or Watt. They're going to get double teamed.
Right.
And then to your point, we're like, oh, we need a fullback. He can line up in the backfield.
See, I feel like you're selling me hard on on Darnell Washington just because I love fullbacks, which has worked. Because I'm like,
no, I'm just saying, think about value because this is why it's such an important piece. We like, need offensive line help.
Is he like 6'5", 6'6", 260?
Well, listen, he fits all the pieces. He can either work on the outside, he can block in the backfield, and then if you have a player that you can actually keep on the field 75% of the time, you can trick people. Right. They're gonna get so used to this dude blocking that he's gonna be 50 yards down the field sometimes, wide open.
Yeah. No, I like it.
And I think it works out really well for us.
The Bengals offense with him on it.
Because he's the LeBron James at tight end. Because he's 6'7".
Whoa. Come on.
I'm literally like the 4th or 5th person that said it. Obviously, he's
not LeBron James.
Obviously, but when we say he's the LeBron James of the NFL is because he's 6'7" or 6'8". Well, I think they say 6'7". Yeah, but he's fast for some that size. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
He's very fast.
He's like 6'7" to what, 60? 270?
Yeah, I'm not he's like LeBron James size.
Right.
But he's not like to me, the analogy is if you say he's the LeBron James of the NFL tight end, then you're talking like Travis Kelce. right? You got to be like, you're saying he's like a Hall of Fame player. He's going to score a bunch of points, right?
Is Travis Kelce 6'7"?
No.
See, that
But
wouldn't make sense.
to me, when you say, like, if you say someone is like the Michael Jordan of something, you don't think that, like, oh, he's built exactly like Michael Jordan. You think that he's going to be like an all-time great,
I think
right?
when people say that is that when they envision LeBron James running down the field, it probably would look like that guy. I think that's what people are saying.
Yeah,
It's hard to say,
that.
like, their
I
skill.
get that, but like when you're talking like normal analogies, though, when you say someone is the X of Y, you mean more like performance, right? Not like
You can, you
actually
can.
how
I
they
mean, you
look.
can't just paint yourself in. It's a case by case scenario, right?
Okay.
You may use the same description multiple times on multiple different things, right? Potentially.
I guess, but I mean, I don't think the LeBron James comparison's fair.
It makes sense to me because what you're trying to explain is that he's got strength, speed, power, like, and height. Like, you just can't.
That's selling LeBron James short. That's not what he is.
Strength, speed.
That's part of it, yes.
Yeah.
But it's lateral quickness. LeBron James is a guy who is built like a center.
I think you're overthinking it.
As fast as a guard.
I just need you to think
as a guard.
of someone like LeBron James built.
Yes.
Just
but
think about it.
He's not as quick. There's no way he's as quick as LeBron. I've seen him move. He doesn't move like LeBron.
I mean, yeah, because LeBron James is a basketball player, so I can
That's
see
what I'm
why a
saying.
basketball player would be a little bit more
That's what
quick.
I'm saying.
Yeah, but
that's my point.
but
Sell
then again,
LeBron
like,
short. It's unfair
to
to
do what you do on a basketball court
Washington.
and do what you do on a football field is kind of like apples and oranges. But I mean, if I had to guess, if someone from moving right to left, like who's going to be faster overall, of course I'd pick LeBron James because he plays basketball. Because traditionally, people that play basketball are quicker.
And if I was going to say who,
but it doesn't mean that if you put LeBron James on a football field that he would outmaneuver Washington.
Oh, absolutely, he would. I don't think he could block like him, but I would think that in terms of like being quick laterally, I don't think I mean, like guards can't. I mean, elite defenders in the NBA have a hard time staying in front of LeBron James. Well, I mean, maybe not anymore, but back in the day.
But how are you going to stop? Like, say we're on, really, I feel like anywhere on the 10-yard line going into the end zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to stop this three?
No, I like it. Like
it's just going to present. So, or actually, how are you going to stop the four?
You had me at fullback. I can't not like it. Like basically, what you're saying is like, it's like the stuff you liked that Ryan Hewitt did. This guy is like bigger, stronger, and faster.
Yeah,
and it's just like, okay, yeah, I'll sign up for that.
It's actually, that's exactly what it is. Actually, now that you said that, but you also have a guy that you could probably develop a little bit more too. I think he kind of gets overlooked with his receiving skills. I'm not saying he's all pro or anything like that, but he's good enough, and he's made some pretty good catches. But
my concern with him, and it's not fair to him, you know, it's just that I see him as like, I don't know, I'm going to make a really strained analogy now that we're talking about analogies. I see him as like an elite athlete but he's part of an ensemble, right? Because you're in Georgia's offense. You're just surrounded, like you just overwhelm teams with athleticism, right? And I just have a hard time saying like, okay, he was a role player in an ensemble, you know, national championship team, right? You know, is that guy a first round pick? Like clearly an NFL player, right? Like, you know, probably going to be an excellent NFL player. Is he going to be worth a first round pick?
I would say yes, because
the issue I have.
If it were me and Mayer and Washington were both available, I would still take Washington over Mayer because you could be able to disguise things a lot more, and Washington would be on the field way more than Mayer the first year, easily.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I don't know. The thing about Mayer, and you know, I'm not like the biggest Mayer guy, but he was Notre Dame's number one option for like 2 years in a row, right? Anybody they played, that was the most important player to cover, right? And he still generated those stats. Whereas for Washington, was he the number one concern of the other? But to be fair, he won't be the number one concern on the Bengals offense, right? He'll be number 3 at best, right?
At best, probably 4 or 5, right? Because if Mixon is still in the backfield, right?
Well, I mean, at best, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say at best he'd probably be a third option.
Yeah,
maybe
but,
second if it's a red zone situation.
Probably like 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you're asking him to do the same thing. I'm with you. I'm for it, but I defer to you on this. But in terms of predicting what the Bengals are going to do, if both of those guys are available, I bet $1,000 that they would pick Mayer over Washington, even if you're 100% right that Washington's a better player. It's just like there's just so much Bengals in it, right?
I mean, I would say this
with Notre Dame tight ends.
I would be okay with either one of them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like I would even be okay with the top 3. Was it Dalton Kincaid? And then actually, yeah, with those 3, I feel like. But what fits the most for the Bengals right now, and probably the next couple of years, is Washington. Because like once I started watching him block, I'm like, oh yeah, this is our guy. Like,
no, it makes tons of sense. It makes tons of sense because you fix the biggest problem of the Bengals offense is offensive line, right? And you do it in a way that gives you options to trick defenses, which makes a ton of sense to me.
Because he would be on the field way more. Because like that was things about our offense that kind of gave us away too. Because we would purposely put certain people in to block versus like receive when it came to tight end. And he's more of a guy that can just be there the majority of the time, like 70 to 75% of the snaps, which is a big deal. Like I said, because that's when you're going to get most of those home run plays because people are going to be so used to blocking.
It fits with my number one criteria for a first round pick is if you're picking someone in a first round, you have to be like, 80%. 95% ish, somewhere in that range, confidence level that's a starter, right? And the way you're pitching Washington to me is like, yeah, that's a starter. He would start. He'd basically be a blocking tight end, kind of 6 offensive linemen. You can roll him into the backfield if you need. He can still catch, run routes, but he'll have time to develop because he's working with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so it's not like he's going to be asked to carry the offense, right? So that's like a perfect position for a rookie to be in to develop, but also can be a starter because he can contribute with like the number one thing that the Bengals need right now is keeping Joe Burrow protected.
He's from Georgia, and usually that works out for us pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, it fits the Bengals too historically, right? Bengals like to draft heavy in the SEC. I guess that's probably not that intelligent, right? Everybody drafts SEC players because they have the most best players in the SEC, right? So there's not a single NFL rosters that doesn't have a lot of SEC players, but we like Georgia players. Like, Georgia has produced some of the all-time great Bengals players.
And I feel like with this draft too, it's kind of better than last year's because I think there's several tackles I would be okay with at the end of the first if we get certain players, or even if they selected a tackle over Washington if he's still there, or other tight ends, I would still be okay with it because it seems like the tackles that could be there at the end would probably be, I think, decent right tackles, or actually possibly above average right tackles. I think there's at least 2 of them that should potentially be there. So, I mean, and then there could be a corner I saw that could drop.
Yeah, I think that I've always thought that being at the end of the first round is a better spot to be in than being like, outside of like the top 10-ish, because you're not drafting you're not desperate to draft for need because you've got a good team. And, I just felt like the Ravens in particular, like drafted a lot of great players, like in this range that the Bengals are picking, right? Like
that's what scares me. The Ravens
is like Ed Reed, right? What about the Ravens?
If they draft Washington,
oh,
that would like work against us big time. I was like, oh no, that's the one team I'm really like. If he goes anywhere else, I'm like, okay, but don't put him on the Ravens. They really, or I guess Chiefs would be pretty good on the Chiefs as well. But
we picked before them.
That's true. I guess we don't really have to worry about that. Plus, I don't really see them picking a tight end. Well, not necessarily Washington type tight end. They probably more of a polished
Chiefs
receiver.
may be the solution to all the Bengals problems, right?
What do you mean, getting their tackle?
Either one of them, right?
Fixes
one of the holes, right?
Yeah.
If you get Brown, slot him in at left tackle, move Williams to right tackle. If you can't get Brown, then you've increased the price for Brown, right? Or made him unhappy.
Yeah.
And then you snag on their right tackle and move him over to our right tackle and solve our problem. And then you keep Williams at left and then you draft your tight end in the first round.
Yeah.
And then your offense gets better.
I would love for them to take Brown, but the more we get closer to the draft.
If you do that, then maybe you just re-sign Mixon, right? Or I'm sorry, maybe you just try to come up with like a amicable way to reduce his salary and keep him on the team, right?
Yeah.
And then you're all set.
And then he potentially still could have some trade partners, Mixon, especially if he's willing to restructure his contract a little bit.
Why would he do that? Well,
because you get to pick the team that you want to play for.
But if you get cut, you get to pick the team you want to play for.
No, it's a waiver.
Is it?
I thought so.
Okay.
Pretty sure there's a waiver wire.
Okay, well then that makes sense.
Because it's you have 24 hours to make the claim, and then if no one makes a claim, then it's up to the player. But I think Mixon would have a little bit of a market. Like for instance, I think the Rams would probably trade for Mixon if he's willing to take a little bit less.
Have the trade. We want like a 5th round pick.
Well, I'm just saying, like, to get his salary off our books. But I guess technically we could just cut
cheaper than Cam Akers.
Cheaper than Cam Akers? No.
Then why would they do that?
Because he's better than Cam Akers, way better. What are you
they
talking
have
about?
No money.
Oh, well, okay. I see your point. No, I'm just saying.
It's just like, yeah, he's better, but they don't have any money.
I guess that's true. I don't know every team situation, but
they have plenty of cash money in their ownership group, but they have no salary cap.
Yeah.
Allocation.
Actual spendable money. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird because like I was pretty okay, or I kind of know it's business, and like I really do like Mixon, and but at the end of the day, it's always about money. Mm-hmm. But then like when we watch this highlight reel in college again, I'm like, man, it got me excited. And it's like we still have. Now I get it, he's older or whatever, but it's like. Mm-hmm. But if we get a little bit more push on the offensive line, and then
that's the thing, though. That's the thing. That was a long time ago. And when we watch the highlights, his film looked way more explosive than Bijan Robinson. But then, did you see what Will Anderson said about Bijan Robinson?
He's a really good blocker, or the toughest he went against, I think.
Yeah, they say, who was the toughest player you went against? He was
that kind of sold it for me. I'm like, because that's what I was going down to.
Maybe if he slips to us, maybe we pick him because he could fix some problems too. Because he excels at breaking tackles and making people miss.
But technically, Mixon was also a good blocker in college as well.
No. Well, he's a good blocker, but take that out though. He makes people miss.
Yeah,
he breaks tackles, which would help the running game because if you want to run behind the offensive line last year, you need to break tackles and make people miss, right? Plus he's an excellent receiver, good blocker, just excellent all around player, and he's like graded as like one of the like I was listening to people talk about him. They're saying that Bijan Robinson's like the best running back grade since Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's like elite grades, and if he slips all the way down to 28, it's just like, well, that's not bad either.
No, I mean,
and that's the thing though. Like you pick at 28, and you kind of get to pick. You kind of have to pick from what's left over, but usually, kind of like end of first round, beginning of second round, a lot of really good players, right? And the Bengals have kind of like a lot of needs, but they have enough like elite top line players to like be a championship level team, right?
Yeah, it's going to be. Well, I think things will start to, like the smoke will kind of clear as we actually get closer to draft. Plus, we'll know a little bit more too after some of the people we re-sign versus potentially people that we bring in, which I don't really see us. Like, we're not going to be able to recover as much as we lost. Because, like, because we're going to lose a whole bunch of free agents from our end. So,
Yeah.
one way or another, we're going to have to replace them.
Yeah, but eventually
the
this team is going to have to become an offensive team, right? Right now, the Bengals are a defensive team.
I wouldn't really say that.
This past year was like they leaned heavily on the defense. And the offense is going to have to like take over.
I think we just have a really good complementary team. They always seem to help each other out one way or another.
Right. But I mean, like going forward, the team is going to have to become an offense-dominated team.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. Like,
and we want the Bengals to keep both receivers, both Higgins and Chase, for as long as possible. So you're going to allocate so much money to that side of the ball that the offense is going to have to carry the team. So, I mean, that's what the Bengals are going to mature into. So you're just going to have to expect Burrow to get a little bit better, Higgins to get a little bit better, and Chase to get a little bit better. And then you add kind of the complementary pieces around them in the offense to support that. And, you know, the Bengals are going to have to win their Super Bowl by outscoring people, you know?
yeah, but I think they have a pretty good formula, too. I don't think the defense is... Because I think the foundation that they've created, they're just going to continue to do what they do and just perfect it as they go until the new regime comes in. Hopefully not for a while. So, like...
Well, I mean, like you look at the Chiefs, I mean, they're an offensive team. Their defense is good.
Defense was the only reason why they won that game.
Yeah, well, not the only reason.
Well, I mean, that's true. Some of the Mahomes plays, I'm still like, what? Like,
you know, just a little.
But yeah, but it was really the defense was like came up so big towards the end of the game, especially with the sacks and all the pressures and all that.
Oh yeah, you know, you let them jump off sides and late hit. It helps.
But I get it. Like you're gonna lean a little bit more towards offense, especially when you have your best players on offense, the majority of your best players on offense.
Well, it's more just salary allocation, right? I mean, the offense is going to be far more expensive than the defense.
Not necessarily. Defensive ends, good cornerbacks are really expensive.
Quarterbacks make the most, $50 million.
Well, yeah, but not everyone has a good quarterback.
The Bengals wide receivers are going to make as much as elite defensive ends. And then you're going to need a left tackle. I mean, the weight of the contracts are going to be on the offense.
Right.
That's just how I see it. I don't know if I'm right. I'm just saying that's how I look at it.
Well, we never know until they actually play either, because like there's always gonna be that one person where like, oh yeah, and then they don't really perform, and there's gonna be that one person where we didn't expect anything, and they're gonna be like really good. So I don't know. It's always interesting. I think after the first wave of free agencies, we'll kind of have an idea, because I assume if we are going for an offensive lineman, we're gonna get him quick like we did last year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
because if not, then we might be going for an offensive lineman early in the draft if we don't, because that would be kind of a clear indicator.
I think the thing about offensive linemen is they like blocking for elite quarterbacks. So I think that puts a lot of things in play for the Bengals that, and I'm just going off of last year, right? Like as soon as free agency hit, they signed 2 guys. And then Collins like wanted to come here, right?
And there's still a lot of other players that like when we're talking about the offensive line, because I know a lot of people just like to go for like the big names, but there's still like what you would consider like upgrades in terms of like athleticism or whatever you want to look at, or age, that we could still sign to either create competition or potentially have them as a starter. And then it would solidify our depth, because it would just push a few more people back. But yeah, free agency is going to be the first clue. And then, if we don't do anything with the line or sign a tackle in free agency, then I guess that would kind of suggest that we're going to go for a tackle high. Because I don't know if you would really want to wait too late in the draft. I don't know. Outside of
not if you need a starter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it would have to be towards the end of the, like, if we were really looking for a starter, which I don't think we would position ourselves at that, or put ourselves in that position to have to rely on selecting a starting tackle at the end of the first round. But you never know. But I would assume that's what we're doing if we don't sign any tackles in free agency, which would be kind of scary at that point. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because that's, I can't see them doing that. I can see them like signing like a tackle that we didn't really expect, because they're kind of like mid-range, or maybe a little bit above mid-range. Like they're maybe like, I don't want to say like they're fringe between B and C. Because I would say Williams is like a C, right? So if we can get like a C plus or like a B, B minus, I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah. I just think that they're going to sign an offensive lineman. I think they're going to sign a tackle like day 1 of free agency.
Oh,
that's my prediction. Day 1 free agency, Bengals sign a tackle.
I mean, that's what they did last year.
Comment below.
All right. Well, I think we're good for tonight.
Right.
I don't know if there's anything else we can add. Yeah, let's just call it a night, and we'll be back later. Peace.